Hi, I'm following along with Paul McWhorter's Fusion 360 and 3D printing lessons. And today he was talking about designing working nuts and bolts that fit properly. And yeah, way back when I started with Fusion 360, I said, "Oh, this is cool. You can make uh, nuts and bolts with it with just a few clicks of the mouse and automatically pulls it up as a standard size and all that." And like I said, it might have a use if you're going to be making bolts or designing bolts or something. But as Paul pointed out in this lesson, at least lately, they don't work out of the box for 3D printing because they tolerances is too tight, and the shape of now that it's standard uh, unified threads on it, that just doesn't work out well and everything. Plus, when you think about it, I use this for 3D printing. It Plastic nuts and bolts really don't have much of a place. I know you can buy nylon nuts and or nylon screws and bolts and stuff, but even them, if you've ever taken something and it's been 10 years old, a lot of times they'll use them like for holding PCB boards on and some of the industrial stuff that I do on the farm here. And you'll have I don't know, 3-4 millimeter uh, bolt with a Phillips head, or nylon bolt with a Phillips head holding the PCB on, and you go to take your Phillips head and start backing it off, and you snap the head off. So they're fairly strong when they're made, if you get a new one or whatever. But if they've been sitting in greenhouse or any kind of environment for 10 years, they're probably going to get a little brittle and not be working. So I don't, after I tried the threads and everything, I said, yeah, this just for 3D printing, this isn't anything that I'd want to do. I'm not going to try to bolt anything together with 3D printed nuts and bolts. But there is places where you could use old Archimedes screws in places that work, where it worked well with the plastics. One place is like lids for containers, screw on lids. We already do that with plastics and everything, but they're certainly not unified screw threads or 8, 10, 12 threads per inch or anything like that, or however metric is the pitch on metric threads. They're a lot coarser, which makes sense because the plastics, you're not going for holding something together. You're not trying to put 1,000 pounds of pressure on something, couple of bolts to torque them into a engine head or anything like that. You're just not going to do that with plastic. So threads for containers, I'm all for that and everything, but you're not going to be able to use the canned thread function in Fusion 360. Probably jumping the gun here because Paul probably going to get to the coil function down the road, but like I said, I'm not going to try doing the printing a threaded bolt. It just, back in the day, I probably did the same thing and adjusted the diameter of the threads, but to prove that I could make it fit together. But just not going to do that. And anyhow, so I am making a video on because I just recently, a while back, had a project that needed the coil or a threaded thing on it. So just a couple weeks ago, code cage down here on the, instead of making a glass case, he made something practical. He needed to run some wires through a wall. So he made a slide fitting thing to go through a wall, and that he could push from each side and connect them together. And um, what I'm going to talk about today is something very similar. We had needed to pass a US power cord cable through a wall, a drywall wall at church, and it was under, it was only had one wall thickness to go through, and so I said, oh well, we could just buy a bulkhead fitting, and I looked online and they're $10-12. I said, nah, let's not do that. So I came home and I printed up a bulkhead fitting on using 3D printing. Like I said, it's got a, I think, 1.5 inch diameter. So that'll, the receptacle plug for a US receptacle plug. I know Europe has a lot bigger ones, but US 110-volt plug will go right through there just fine. But as you can see, we got nice coarse coil threads on here, and cut the nut, and they fit just fine, and nice easy fit. And this is something that I say, well, this will be practical, and then that'll be what you see through the wall, and that looked really good on the drywall where we had to send the cord through. Only thing is, I guess a mouse could still sneak through because you only got the thin cord after you pass the plug through. We don't usually have too many mouse problems in church, so but that's it. So I usually start over and draw it for everybody, but I think this time I'm just going to show you the steps of the drawing that I already have. So let's go ahead and get to the Fusion 360. So this is the drawing for what I have. And like I said, this is a coil on here, and then we cut a similar coil out of the center of this. And so basically we can go back in our timeline here to our sketch, and there's our sketch, and we can actually look at it. So just like I said, I think it was 1.5 inches hole diameter, and had a whatever the wall thickness is there, and then the outer ring was 300 or 3 inches. So used to working with smaller stuff, but yeah. Then we just extruded that, and then extruded the centerpiece, and then we can talk about the coil. Go in the coil and we can edit that feature. Looks like it's covering me up, so I'm gonna move myself over here. I'll move it maybe down here. And move this over. Oops. Let's cancel that. Edit this feature. Move it out of the way. So anyhow, here's what we do. You got choices here. You can do revolution, number of revolutions, and pitch, and that's what I ended up doing on this one. And so we actually have a 0.4 pitch, so that's a really, steep pitch for a thread. So I mean, it's certainly, like I say, but it's probably somewhere between 0.2 and 0.4 inches. So I don't know what that works out to in metric. Like I say, I work in English. So anyhow, you'll have to figure out what you want to do with that, but you certainly don't want anything as fine as what your pitch on your thing is. And like I said, well, you could see when I did that, but when it tightens up when it tightens up at the end, it's not going to loosen up by itself. It takes a good bit of force to loosen it up. And like I said, it was just tightening up on drywall. So we had no problem with that. And so you need to, so we revolutions and pitch. So we went 3 revolutions. Of course, you got to give the diameter and then what kind of thing you're doing. So I just did a circular one. You could do you got the sawtooth or the triangular feature here that you could do, or you could even use square pitch threads, and they would probably work well too. I just like the square pitch probably wouldn't work well for 3D printing because you're going to end up with an overhang. So that's probably not a good thing. Probably the triangular would be the best, but I just figured that this one look good and prints well. So that's why I ended up with circular on there. And like I said, you got choice. We're on center with this, but you could say inside or outside as well on where your diameter is 1.8 inches. So you would do that. So and then like I said, for this part we wanted to join it to our body, so that's what we did. I'm gonna actually cancel any changes just in case I made some. Anyhow, and oh yeah, let's bring it around. Let's bring that back. All right, that's a good view. So when you do your coil, you end up with a dead end on there, it's just the half of the coil sticking out. And that might have been a problem. Another thing you notice is I didn't send the threads all the way up with this type of threads. A lot of times when you're doing I also do machining, and when you do a bolt, you want to have a place for your nut to sit just like this. So that it's good not to send it all the way to the top on this part of it. But you also don't want that sharp corners there it might not bind up, but might not catch on the threads. So I actually just chose that profile, and then we put a nice chamfer on it. And that chamfer was not a 45-degree chamfer. 45 might have been okay, but I actually did a 2 distance ones, and I did 0.3 and 0.8 or 0.08, and that worked out. So that gives you a nice lead in for your thread. That's what we did. And then we went to sketch the second one. And like I said, I did a hex nut on this one, and did the drawing, extruded it out. Now this one, you want to create an offset plane. It's not showing the plane. Oh, here it is, construction plane. Yeah, let's turn that on. So you want the threads or your coil to go all the way through this. So you want to have an offset plane to start on. Otherwise, you're not going to get your coil going all the way through that. So it's good to have an offset plane to start. And then we just did another coil. So I didn't do an offset plane on this one because you were going down to the bottom and you didn't need to worry about it. It was going into this part. So that was good. And let's edit this feature here. Whoops, got behind me. Edit this feature. And you can see we did the same thing at 1.8 diameter. I think that this coil is a little bit bit smaller. I think I made that coil 1.8 or 1.9 or 0.18 or 0.19 inches, so that there was some clearance, because we did that. And still got the, since I was going down, I had to do a negative pitch on that. I should have actually started at the bottom and going up, but it didn't matter. And but this time we're doing a cut. So that's basically all there was to it. And we got that done, and like I said, you could see how that it was doing well. Let's turn some of this stuff off. Okay, so at the end for Paul's homework, he did talk about making a nice looking nut. And mine, you can see, is just a square nut, didn't have any of that fancy stuff on it. So it worked just fine and everything, but I was thinking, okay, so how would you do that? And come up with two ways at least that you can do it, and there's probably more, but I think I'll do the show you the two ways that I would do it. I haven't actually tried either one of these yet, but I think both of them are going to work. So let's see. One thing, when you're doing machining on a lathe or whatever, if you want to make a profile, like if you want to those curves on there, you would use what you call a profile tool, either a a tool that has that radius ground on it that you could push in each side or whatever, and they call it a form tool. So this is going to be like a sort of like the first way I'm going to show you is a form tool for and then we'll revolve it around and cut it out of there. So the first thing I need is another plane to work on here, because I want to work through the middle of this. So I'm going to do a mid plane, and with a mid plane you pick two sections, two opposing sides, and then it's going to give you a middle plane. So you can see in here the orange middle plane. So that came up. So let's do that. And we want to actually sketch on that plane. So let's sketch, and it's going to ask me what plane. So we did that. It looks like that we're sketching, there, but we're doing right there. So we're actually, you can see the plane is actually going through the center of the nut. And we want to be face on. And let's move this over. So like I say, I'm going to make a form tool. So I'm going to probably draw some lines. So we'll just draw a line, draw another one down, draw another one. And then I'm going to quit that. And then actually I do want one more, I want it like in the middle here, but not connecting. All right, let's zoom in here. So now, like I said, I want to make, you got to have a solid to cut, or something, an enclosed item here. So let's see, I want to put a radius, but I want it to go this way. I don't want it to go this way. I think I can do it. I want this line to go to this line. All right. Wow. My line disappeared. Well, let's try again. This one to this one. And the bottom line. I'm not sure why. I don't know why that is. I guess because I'm going the radius the other way, but I think I don't know what that's about. Okay, so I'm just going to draw some more lines up here. Draw a line from here to here. Oh, what happened to my other? I must not have got it. So we want a radius from here to here. I guess I got to hit enter. All right, and that line disappeared, but then I can draw it again. I'm not sure why that line disappeared, but anyhow. So there's still a lot of blue going on here. I'm not sure I need to get it fully constrained, but I might do that just to show it can be done. But first of all, I want it to be the same height as this. So I'm going to go use our constraints, and I want it collinear. So I want this to be collinear with that. That raise that up. I want this to be collinear with that. That raise that up. And I want our radiuses to be, so escape out of that, and dimension. I think I want my radius, I like 1/4 inch, so 0.25. Okay, and I want both of them, 0.25. All right, so got that going on. And I actually want this to be collinear with that. I should have done it while I was doing collinear. So I want this line to be collinear with this. All right. And we're constrained all except for, I'm not sure why that's blue. I'm not sure where that could move to. No, just I can do this one. So I'll just give this a dimension. Escape D. This to this. And we'll just make this 0.2. All right, so that really doesn't matter. It looks like that might be blue now. So that's good. I think we're probably finished with this sketch now. So let's finish sketch and go home. All right. So what we want to do now is we want to revolve this around the thing. Oh, but we don't have right now we don't have a center in this one because I didn't do an axis in this one. I have an axis in there because I started at the origin. So let's cancel out of this first. And we have to make a axis through a cylinder. I think we'll do it. So we want to pick the cylinder, and that's the cylinder. Yeah, there we go. Now we got an axis because we have to revolve around an axis. So we're going to revolve. We're going to pick what we want to revolve, the profile. Oh. Pick all the parts. All right. And axis, we want to revolve around. We want this. And it's got us as a cut. And we can see through there that it looks pretty good. So we're going to say, okay. There we go. Let's turn our colors. That's all right. We'll just leave it that color. I was gonna make it gray to look like Paul's, but this one I couldn't put the hex on, but this one I did. And that sort of looks like what Paul did for a hex on his. But since I got that done, I don't really want to mess up what I got there. So that was a little involved. I think if I was drawing it from scratch, let's do it from scratch. So this is a new design. I'm just going to do the head part of it. So let's do a move that over. So let's put our hex up first. Polygon circumcised. And we want this just 1 inch to the flat, so it's actually 2 inches across. And we'll constrain it with a horizontal vertical, I guess. All right. And then we want a circle that's the same as the point. So we just want to make a circle that's the same as the points. All right, see how this works. So we're going to finish with a sketch. And we're actually going to make two bodies here. Okay, so the first body is going to be like a cylinder. So we want to extrude and we want to select everything. And we'll extrude, we'll make it 1 inch tall. So we'll go up 1 inch. Enter. All right, so we got that body, but we're going to turn that body off actually, but we need to turn our sketch back on. So we got our sketch and we want to make a second body and we want to extrude that up. And we'll extrude that 1 inch as well. There we go. So that body's on and this body's on. So you can see they're in the same space. But our cylinder, let's turn this one off. We want to work on our cylinder. So our cylinder is actually going to be what we're going to put our radius on. So we want to do a fillet and we want to fillet both of the sides. And again, we're going to do the 0.25. I think that's good. And we're going to say, okay. And then we'll turn this on as well. So now you can kind of see what you got going on here. And Paul hasn't gone over this part either yet. So we'll leave both bodies on. I think I can do it that way. So you got this one here, it's called combine. So let's go ahead and do the combine. And it wants to know what the target body is. I don't think in this case, I don't think it makes a difference because we're going to do an intersection, what they call an intersection. So you got the target body and we're going to choose one. And then we got the tool body and we're going to choose the other one. Okay, so you have your choices here. You could join them. You could cut one from the other. So if we cut, you could see that there's hardly anything that's going to be, it's going to cut almost everything away from one and the other. But we want what they call intersect. So we want the parts that are only have both objects in it. So if it only has one object, part of one object in it, it won't use it. So that means that these tips are going to come out because they're not part of it. And then also the flats are going to come out because, you know, the parts of the circle that, or these little wedges that within the circle. I think this is going to work. I don't know. It doesn't look good here right now, but let's try it. Oh, there it is. There we go. So let's turn off the sketch. So that probably looks the same results as we had with the other one. So I don't know which way was easier, and maybe Paul will actually show us a third way that's even easier yet. Anyhow, that's my video for this week. I think Paul's got one more lesson on screw threads, and I don't know, maybe he'll get into the coils or not, but for 3D printing, I'll never use the built-in unified threads or metric threads that they have. I'm going to always use the coil tool. They're just different uses for them, and plastic threads aren't made for fastening pieces together. They're made for putting lids on, or in this case, tightening up something, but it's a whole lot different than what a unified thread would be. Anyhow, that's my video. Thanks for watching, and look forward to more videos from Paul. Have a great day.